I fought it for years. I kept trying to make beauty videos, trying to fit into what I thought YouTube wanted. I was doing tutorials, reviews, hauls, all while something deeper in me kept whispering, this isn't it. And the minute I stopped forcing it and started talking about what I was going through, menopause, healing, aging, reclaiming myself, YouTube started pushing my content. That's when I knew I wasn't just growing a channel, I was walking in alignment. YouTube is on easy mode when you start running from your calling.
I'm still rising, beauty over age, turning every tear into a brand new page. No more heart hiding, I've come full bloom.
What's up to my favorite bunch of beauties? Welcome back to Beauty Over Age, where we embrace power, peace, and purpose after 40. I'm Denise, the founder of Aya Women's Wellness Coaching and your guide for this beautiful, complicated midlife season. Today's video is different. It's not just about tips or tricks. This one is about purpose, timing, and what happens when you finally surrender to the calling on your life. So grab your journal and a cup of tea because I'm going to ask you some questions that might stir something deep. Let's get into it. So let me tell you how we got here, because this wasn't the plan, at least not the plan I had in my head. When I started this channel, I thought I knew exactly what I was supposed to be doing. Makeup, beauty, and skincare for mature women. I wanted to create a space where grown women could still feel cute, still feel seen, still feel stylish. And for a while it worked. I enjoyed it. I liked the creativity. But even in the middle of the fun, I felt this quiet tug. And at first, I ignored it. I said, girl, you are just tired. I brushed it off like it was burnout or maybe a little creative block, but it wasn't. That tug, it was purpose trying to get my attention. Because behind the ring lights and the setting sprays, I was going through real changes, hormonal changes, emotional changes, spiritual changes. I was waking up in the middle of the night drenched in sweat. I was crying over things that never used to faze me. I was losing energy, losing drive, and gaining weight in places I did not recognize. And when I tried to show up on camera like nothing was wrong, something in me felt fake. I was performing. And listen, I know how hard it is to admit that, especially as Black women. We're taught to keep going, to look good, to stay unbothered. But I was bothered. And more than that, I was misaligned. I kept filming because I didn't want to mess up the algorithm. I didn't want to lose subscribers. I didn't want people to say she's doing too much or she's changed. But here's the truth. I had changed. I was changing right in front of my own eyes and trying to act like nothing was happening. And that disconnect started to show up in my content. The views dipped, the energy dipped, and deep down, I knew why. I wasn't in alignment anymore. My content was cute, but it wasn't connected. Take a moment and write this down in your journal. What's the one area of my life where I've been performing instead of walking in my purpose? Maybe it's work, maybe it's a relationship, but maybe it's your social media presence. Whatever comes up first, that's your clue. Pause the video if you need to. I'll be here when you get back. And I want to say this gently but clearly. There's no shame in starting with what felt safe. There's no shame in using your voice in a way that made sense at the time. I needed to go through the beauty phase. I learned how to edit, how to speak on camera, how to connect. That version of me wasn't wrong. She just wasn't finished growing. And once I realized that, everything started to shift. The same platform I used to talk about foundation and lipstick was now being called to hold space for women who felt invisible. For women who were waking up confused about their bodies. For women who had lost their spark but not their fire. I don't care what anybody says, there is nothing wrong with evolving. You are not flaky, you're not being extra, you're growing. And that growth might take you in a completely new direction. You might lose followers, you might confuse people, but if you're in alignment, I promise you will find your people. And not just any people, the ones you were meant to reach all along. Here's one more question to sit with. What part of me am I keeping small in order to stay likable? That one might sting a little bit, but I've been there. And I'll be honest, it's exhausting. The more you shrink, the more drained you become. But the moment you show up fully as yourself, that's when things start to move. In the next part, I'm going to share how menopause didn't just find me, it forced me to find myself. And I'll tell you exactly how that moment cracked me open and made space for everything I'm building today. I didn't go looking for menopause. Let's just be real about that. I didn't wake up one day saying, ooh, I can't wait to make content about night sweats and hormonal gain. In fact, if you had asked me back then what I thought midlife would look like, I would have said something like travel, maybe a new hairstyle, eating better, taking care of myself. Nobody told me it would come with anxiety out of nowhere. Nobody told me my body would suddenly feel like it didn't belong to me. Nobody told me I stand in front of my closet looking at clothes that no longer fit with tears in my eyes, wondering when I stop recognizing the woman staring back at me in the mirror. Or that I go through 3 different bras in a week because my breasts were tender out of nowhere. Or that my joints would ache even though I was drinking water, working out, and doing everything right. And on top of all that, the world was still telling me, just take care of yourself and you'll be fine. But I was taking care of myself. I was trying. I wasn't being lazy. I wasn't being dramatic. I was just in a season that no one warned me about. That's when I knew this wasn't just about me. This was about us. Black women. Women who are so used to pushing through pain, we don't even call it pain anymore. We call it life. We normalize the struggle. We quiet our symptoms. We keep it cute. But friend, menopause is not quiet. It will come knocking at your door like I'm here, ready or not. Drop a comment right now if you've ever thought, what is happening to me? Because I promise you, you're not crazy. You're not broken. You're transforming. And yeah, transformation gets messy. I remember one night when not long after I had my knee replacement, and that was just back at this past December, that I felt like I was going through a bit of a struggle. And then a part of me was saying, well, my husband is not paying any attention to me. And then I just burst into tears. And I think that scared him. It wasn't because I was in a lot of pain or discomfort, because I felt alone, like no one had prepared me for what the season would demand from me emotionally, physically, or spiritually. And it wasn't even just the symptoms, it was the silence, the lack of conversation, the lack of community. That silence is what pushed me to hit record that very first menopause video. I wasn't even chasing clicks. I was chasing connection. And I found it not in a trending sound or a viral challenge, but in a moment of truth. A moment where I showed up exactly as I was, tired, vulnerable, but willing. Write this in your journal. What truth have I been holding back, waiting for the right moment to share? You don't have to post it. You don't have to turn it into a video, but I want you to write it just for you. Because the more honest we are with ourselves, the more whole we become. When I stopped hiding the hard parts of midlife, I didn't lose my audience. I found my audience. Women who were silently Googling, why am I so tired all the time? Women who were sitting in their cars crying between errands. Women who needed someone to say, you're not crazy, you're changing, and it's okay to grieve who you used to be. Because yes, there's grief in midlife, but there's also rebirth. When I surrendered to what was calling me, this new season, this new message, everything started aligning. My voice got clearer, my channel started growing, my confidence came back. Because I was no longer trying to shrink to fit an outdated version of myself. I was making space for who I was becoming. And in the next part, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened when I finally stopped fighting. When I said yes to this calling, even though it scared me, even though it was outside of my niche, outside of my plan, and way outside of my comfort zone. I'll show you what opened up for me and how it might open up something for you too. Wow, so now we're here at the part where things really started to shift. The first time I made a video about menopause, I was scared. Not nervous, scared. Scared that I'd lose the few people still watching, scared that no one would care, scared that I'd open up about this personal, emotional, messy experience and be met with silence. But I did it anyway. I sat down, hit record, and just talked. No heavy edits, no filters. Just me telling the truth about what was happening in my body and my spirit. And then something powerful happened. People listened, women shared the video, they left comments like, this is the video I didn't know I needed, finally someone's talking about this, or I felt seen for the first time in years. And those comments, they cracked something open in me because I realized it wasn't just my story, it was our story. A story of women doing life in silence. Women managing hot flashes in boardrooms or exam rooms. Women dealing with brain fog while raising families. Women losing themselves in the shuffle of caregiving, a marriage, career, and expectation. If you're watching this and you've ever thought, is it just me? Am I crazy? Am I failing? No, you're evolving. And when I finally leaned into that truth, YouTube became easy. Not because I hacked the algorithm, but because I stopped hiding. Take a breath and write this down. What am I still fighting that's trying to set me free? Maybe it's a truth you've been avoiding. Maybe it's a new season you're resisting. Maybe it's a version of you that's ready to be released. Pause this video if you need to, sit with it, and let the answers rise. Because awareness is where alignment begins. After I released that video, I felt lighter. Not because everything was perfect, but because I finally felt like I wasn't pretending anymore. And when I looked at the analytics, I was shook. More views, more engagement, more genuine growth. But more than that, the channel started feeling like mine again. No more pressure to perform, no more chasing the trends I didn't care about. Just me showing up for the women who needed exactly what I had to give. I want you to hear this part clearly, okay? When I stopped trying to make my content make sense to everyone, it started making a real difference to the right ones. That's what purpose does. It doesn't need a spotlight. It needs obedience. And when you move with obedience, not perfection, you will always be divinely positioned. I used to think I had to have the perfect strategy, the perfect branding, the perfect intro sequence. I thought I needed everything to be just right. But guess what? The video that changed everything for me wasn't fancy. It was honest. The lighting wasn't perfect. The framing was off. I was in my comfy clothes. I'm always in my comfy clothes. But the words were real. And real will always hit harder than perfect. Now, write this down. What am I waiting to get perfect before I move forward? Is it your content, your dream, your health, that next chapter of your life? Friend, perfection is a delay tactic. Stop waiting on flawless. Start walking in faith. When I stopped fighting the calling on my life, when I gave myself permission to speak up, to shift gears, and to serve differently, the growth came, the clarity came, the community came. And I realized that the very thing I was scared to talk about, the blessing wasn't on the other side of some perfect plan. It was right where I was the moment I said yes. And now I want to talk about you, because this story isn't just mine, it's yours too. In the next part, I'm going to walk with you through the doubt, the fear, and the silence, and help you see why your voice is not just needed, it's divinely assigned. Let's talk about you for a second. Yes, you, the one watching this video while folding laundry or sipping tea or lying in bed trying not to cry. I need you to hear me with your whole heart. Your voice is needed. Your presence, your experience, your story, it matters. And I don't care what the world told you. I don't care what your ex said. I don't care if your last video got 3 views or if your family rolls their eyes when you start talking about something new. You were not created to shrink your gifts to fit other people's understanding. You were created to impact. And that impact starts when you stop asking for permission. Somebody out there is waiting on your yes. They're waiting to hear your story told in your voice, with your humor, with your dialect, your flaws, your lived in earned wisdom. And you think you're late? No, you're on time. You showed up with battle scars and boundaries and questions and a whole lot of lessons. And that is the woman we've been waiting for. I remember wondering, who am I to talk about menopause? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not Oprah. But you know what I am? I am a woman who's been through it and decided to stop suffering in silence. That's what made the difference. Not the credentials, not going viral, just showing up, real, raw, and ready. Write this down. What truth lives in me that could set someone else free? You don't need to have 1 million followers to have impact. You just need the courage to speak the truth that's been sitting on your spirit. And trust me, someone out there is praying for that exact message. And I know stepping into visibility is scary, especially in a world that tells women over 40 that our time has passed, that our voice is dated, that we should step aside and let the younger generation take over. But friend, we are just getting started. And I don't know about you, but I didn't come this far to go quiet now. I've earned my voice, and so have you. If you're sitting on a book idea, a podcast, a blog, a wellness business, a coaching platform, a new kind of YouTube content, don't you dare dismiss it just because it hasn't been done your way yet. Maybe you were born to show us how it's done. Maybe your softness is what will break the cycle. Maybe your honesty is what someone needs to finally feel safe. Maybe your truth is what heals your whole bloodline. What if the reason you haven't felt fulfilled in other areas of your life is because you haven't stepped into the thing you were called to do? Ask yourself this: if I wasn't afraid to be seen, what would I create? Sit with that. Right until the words pour out. Don't edit, don't judge, just let it flow. YouTube is on easy mode for me now. Not because it got easier, but because I got realer. I stopped trying to be what I thought would work, and I became who I actually am. And every time I show up that way, the right people find me. I get DMs from women saying, I felt like you were talking straight to me. That's not strategy, that's purpose. And your purpose won't go away just because you keep ignoring it. It's gonna keep tugging, keep whispering, keep showing up in dreams and downloads and unexpected conversations until you finally say, okay, I'm listening. In this next part, I'm going to talk about what happens after you say yes, after the tears, after the shift, after the breakthrough. I'll show you how saying yes to my calling didn't just grow my channel, it opened the door to coaching, journaling, merch, events, and legacy work. I'll show you what it means to build something that lasts, because alignment doesn't just change your algorithm, it changes your whole life. You've probably heard the saying, start before you're ready. And I'll be honest with you, when I finally pivoted this channel, I didn't feel ready. I felt scared, exposed, like I was stepping out onto a stage I didn't ask to stand on. But once I said yes to the calling, the work began to build itself. What started as a single menopause video turned into something I never could have planned. I found myself coaching women one-on-one, writing a health journal, designing merch with purpose, not just for style, planning pop-ups and tea events, creating a lounge space for women over 40 to gather, breathe, and talk about real life. All of that came after I stopped chasing the version of a success I had outgrown. I wasn't trying to go viral, I was trying to go deep. That's what I want for you too. I want you to build something with roots, not just a platform, not just a product, but a legacy. Something your granddaughters will point to and say, she started that when everyone told her it was too late. Imagine what your life could feel like if everything you created came from a place of peace and alignment. If your content, your business, your daily rhythm flowed from your actual truth, not from performance or pressure. Now write this down. What kind of life am I building with the choices I'm making today? Not the life people expect, not the life you were taught to settle for, but the one that feels like home in your spirit. Now, let me be real. It didn't happen all at once. I had to start with what I had: a camera, a ring light, my voice, my honesty. And from there, the right people showed up. The opportunities came, the downloads, the strategy, the courage, it all followed the obedience. Because when you build from a place of purpose, you don't have to hustle for validation. You attract what's aligned. And you're not burnt out from trying to be everything to everyone. You're just being you, fully, powerfully, and peacefully. Beauty Over Age isn't just a channel, it's a movement. A reminder that midlife is not a decline, it's a rise. It's where your wisdom happens, your voice deepens, your impact expands. And if you nurture it with intention, it becomes something that lasts beyond the algorithm, beyond the likes, beyond the views. One last question for today. What do I want to be known for in this season of my life? Not your title, not your following, not your impact. The imprint you leave, the light you carry, the freedom you give others permission to step into by fully being yourself. So here's what I want you to take away from all of this. YouTube is on easy mode when you stop performing and start aligning. When you let go of what used to work and make space for what's meant for you now. When you stop watering down your truth to be palatable and start speaking with the kind of clarity that only comes from experience. This is your time. Not because the world said so, but because you did. And if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. The call is here. The platform is open. All that's left is your yes. Thank you so much for watching today. If this video spoke to you, if it made you feel seen, or even just gave you something to think about, go ahead and hit the like button, leave a comment, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And hey, if these videos are helping you feel seen or supported and you want to show a little love, you can buy me a coffee. Just scan the QR code on the screen. It helps me keep making content for women like us who are owning this season of life. Until next time, stay powerful, stay peaceful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.